You're listening to The Bottom Line. I'm Gary Thiemann in Hollywood.
I was on the verge of being in trouble at work. I would drink and drive and have to keep one eye closed and find the little bumps uh, on the white lines to keep the car lined up instead of driving with both eyes open and seeing double. The horror of waking up in the morning and wondering if I'd hit anything the night before and getting up and going and walking around the car in the garage to make sure there weren't any dents on it. It was a horrible feeling operating in blackouts.
Would I know why you're drinking? I know you alibi. Don't make up excuses. Those are tears in your eyes. And you're falling back in love again. Now that Annie's back in town.
Alcoholism and drug abuse, having no prejudices, even in the airline industry. The following is Carole's story. A story in the airline industry. A positive story. A story that proves, well, no matter what your career field, alcohol and drug abuse can be stiff competition. I'm Gary Thiemann in Hollywood. Carole with her story.
I'm Carole, and I'm an alcoholic. I'm also an only child, and I think that had a lot to do with how I came to be an alcoholic. The first drink that I remember having was in high school, and it made me sick, but it was cool to drink, and I drank. I didn't have a real big problem in high school. I did in college, and I wanted to be a part of and accepted, and I wanted to drink like the guys. I never wanted to drink like the gals. I wanted to drink like the guys. And I liked the way I felt when I drank. I felt accepted and witty and a part of. And after college, my parents moved from the city where I had grown up and graduated from high school, and they moved to Dallas, Texas. And I got a job with a major airline as a flight attendant. And I believe that my drinking really became more enjoyable. It was more of a party situation. And layovers were a good excuse to get together and have a drink. And we did. I had a real good time for a long time, or I thought it was a real good time. And I made a lot of poor choices and had some fast friends, and the people started changing. The crowd seemed to get a little bit faster, and I just tried to keep up. The bad choices that I made were with the people that I hung around with, and I was just looking for acceptance. I don't know what I thought I wanted, but I just wanted to be happy, and I wasn't happy. I was chasing happiness somehow. And the people that I got hooked up with usually drank the way I did or more. And I guess in the early 70s, I started asking people if they thought I drank too much. And the people that I would ask that would always say no, they didn't think so. But it seemed like the people I would ask that question of did drink more than I did. I met a fella in the late 60s who lived in California, and I made a decision to leave Dallas and go to California. It was probably a poor decision, but looking back, it got me to the place where I am today, so maybe it was a good decision. And I came to California, and it didn't take long before we broke up. And I went into a tailspin. I didn't know anyone in California, and drinking had become more a way of life. It was daily. I made a feeble attempt at suicide.
This is The Bottom Line. Carole's story continues in just a moment.
There's one hero who never makes the headlines, yet this great American saves countless lives a year. This hero won't let a drunk get behind the wheel of a car. Instead, he'll give him a ride home or call a cab. And just by doing so, our hero saves lives. Who is this great American hero? You. Or it should be. Be a hero. Don't let a drunk drive.
Everyone's story is personal, unique by one's nature, but they all share the common symptoms of the disease of alcohol or drug addiction. The Bottom Line is produced for one reason, and that's to reach the person in denial. Carole's story continues, relationship after relationship.
In the meantime, the amount of time that we spent together was consumed with alcohol, drinking, arguing, fighting, arguing about drinking, arguing about each other's drinking. It was certainly affecting my life, but I knew it was affecting his. Around that same time period when we broke up, I knew that if we broke up, he would change. He didn't. And then I had to make a decision whether I was going to continue to drink when I was out of town or not. And I decided to not drink at work or out of town on layovers. And it was a very hard decision. So for 2.5 days every week I wouldn't drink, and the rest of the days I would. My parents had come out to visit me. I'd bought a home. They came out to visit me, and we were sitting in the dining room one afternoon playing Scrabble or some game, and my mother said, "I believe you drink too much." And I thought at the time, I believed she didn't have any business saying that. It was my day off. I had bought my own house through no help from them, and I had every right to do whatever I wanted to. And I made a decision in my head that I didn't think I would invite them out again. I'd heard that alcoholics lose their family. I never thought that that's what was happening when I made that decision, that I didn't think they should come out and visit if they were going to interfere that way. That was in the late 70s. It was 1980, September of 1980, that I feel like I hit my bottom. Prior to that, a girlfriend of mine, in June of that year, a girlfriend of mine who lived in Laguna Beach, I had gone down to visit, and I spent the night at her house, and the next morning she told me, "You will not drink in my house for 6 months, do you understand?" And I have absolutely no recollection of what took place after we had dinner. I can imagine, and the horror of not knowing. I understand now that what that was a blackout, and a blackout is probably better described as a blank out. It's a blank part in your brain where you can't, no matter what, you cannot recall the events of that time period. People can tell you what happened, but you can never put that into your memory because it's absent from your memory.
There are many self-help 12-step programs: AA, Alcoholics Anonymous, Narcotics Anonymous, Cocaine Anonymous, Overeaters Anonymous, just to name a few. Through these self-help programs, Alcoholics Anonymous has been a way of life for Carole. To accept a power greater than oneself takes on the form of spirituality. Spirituality and recovery go hand in hand with Carole's story on a daily basis.
I was searching for something, but the church wasn't fulfilling it. I had been raised Methodist, and I tried the Baptist church and several others, but I was not finding what it was to fix me inside. Whatever it was that was broken, church wasn't fixing. And I had asked God into my life. I had asked Christ into my heart, and I was still having this problem with alcohol. So the church hadn't really helped, or in my way of thinking. And in September of 1980, through a friend of a friend, I was coaxed into going to an Alcoholics Anonymous meeting. And what happened there was I felt like I belonged. And these people talked the way I understood. They talked in a way that I understood. And I found out that I had a disease, and the disease was called alcoholism. From September of 1980 until now, I haven't found it necessary to take a drink. Been several times that I think I've wanted one, but I've never wanted one bad enough to go through the things that happened prior to 1980. That was a little over 6 years ago. And my life has changed considerably. Today I'm in a relationship that is healthy, where we care about one another and try on a daily basis to not be hurtful to one another. The friends that I've made in Alcoholics Anonymous, I've never had that kind of friendship. The quality of friendship is different from those surface acquaintances. My story isn't a real dramatic one, but my recovery seems to be dramatic. People have asked me over the years what's different, and several people have been very shocked when I said I no longer drink. They say, please don't tell me that that's what it is. But the people that ask me that are people that have had a problem themselves. When I was newly sober, probably in October of that same year, I knew how to pray, and I knew how to have conversations with God, and I really felt like I was spoken to. I was in Washington, D.C., and I had interviewed for another job that I just knew I had, and for some reason didn't get. And I was very upset about that, and I was telling God how I didn't like what I was doing any longer. I didn't want to be a flight attendant, and hadn't liked it for a few years, and that He knew it. And I had this strange feeling at 3 different times that afternoon that I was being told, you are where I want you.
Too close to paradise and too close to hell. And sometimes the difference is too hard to tell. When empty pockets and old worn out feet, they say you fill them by right in your trees. And I'm one step closer now with one more
from 1980 until 1985, I continued to fly. I did enjoy it. I went back to school after being gone from school for almost 20 years. I made good grades, and I took the necessary courses in an area of study for drug alcohol certification. And in September of 1985 was appointed to a position by my union that heads up the health department and within my union and coordinates the activities of those people throughout the United States in my union who do volunteer work in helping people get into rehab that have problems with drugs and alcohol. So it does look like God has definitely had a hand in my life. I can see it in retrospect. I can see it looking back and see where He's led me. It's just real hard to trust what's going to happen in the future. I believe that God's very, very much in charge of what takes place. And all I have to do is show up each day and be open to the environment around me. The answers seem to come, and there aren't any hard questions anymore. You just do what you're supposed to do each day. When I was appointed to the position that I mentioned in 1985, the job happened to be in Dallas, Texas, and I had lived there before, and there was no way I wanted to go back to Texas. But I did, and I've spent a year there where the officers of my union had then said, maybe it would be best if you work out of your home for a while, which is what I was longing to do, to come back to California and spend time with the man that's in my life. And he does the same thing in his union. So we have a common bond of carrying this message to people who are still suffering. Coming back to California was great. I sold a house in one area and bought a house in another area, and for the first time in a year seemed to be together. And what I know today is that I am centered. I feel very peaceful. I enjoy my parents. I enjoy the friends that I have in AA, and strangely enough, most of my friends are in AA. There are very few people in my life today who don't have, there are very few people in my life that don't practice some kind of program of progress. Now, I had mentioned earlier that I'd looked for this at church, and church didn't help my alcoholism, and AA greatly augmented what my spiritual beliefs were. It was real hard for me because although I was a born-again Christian, I really felt persecuted as far as being an alcoholic, and I knew I was an alcoholic, and that certainly wasn't acceptable in God's eyes.
You're listening to The Bottom Line. I'm Gary Thiemann in Hollywood. Carole's story continues in just a moment.
This is an egg. What's it have to do with drunk driving? I'll tell you while I make breakfast. The drunk driver who kills says, "I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. If only I could go back." But there's no going back and undoing a drunk driving accident. You can't undo the hurt, the suffering, the broken families, any more than you can unscramble an egg. So please, don't drink and drive.
You're on The Bottom Line. I'm Gary Thiemann in Hollywood. Carole's story continues.
Everything that happened to me before 1980 was beneficial in some way or another, because September of 1980 wouldn't have happened without those events. without that string of poor choices in relationships, the geographic, leaving Dallas and coming to California for the wrong person at the wrong time for the wrong reason. But today, I don't know what's in the future. I don't know what tomorrow's going to bring. But I do know that the quality of my life has a deeper meaning, and my relationship with God is a very fulfilling one. I'm trying now to accept that no matter what happens, that it's going to be for my good, and that God is in charge. He just doesn't divulge to us what the next few years are going to be like. I wouldn't wish the personal pain or the personal hell on anyone that you experience getting to the point of being out of control with alcohol or drugs. I thought my life was manageable, but I was on the verge of being in trouble at work. I would drink and drive and have to keep one eye closed and find the little bumps on the white lines to keep the car lined up instead of driving with both eyes open and seeing double. The horror of waking up in the morning and wondering if I'd hit anything the night before, and getting up and going and walking around the car in the garage to make sure there weren't any dents on it. It was a horrible feeling operating in blackouts. And that went on for at least 10 years before I got to Alcoholics Anonymous. My worst day today is better than my best day was when I was drinking. I heard people in AA say that when I first got here. I thought that's a strange thing to say, but now I've experienced it. I had no idea 6 years ago that there would be this many positive changes that would have taken place in such a short time period. If there's any person that's questioning whether or not they have a problem with alcohol, they really know deep down inside themselves. Asking the people that they drink with just assures a stall and delay, because the friends that you're going to ask are going to tell you, no, you don't have a problem with drinking. The friends that you need to ask aren't around anymore. You know, when I first got sober and was telling some of my buddies that I was in Alcoholics Anonymous and I had a problem with alcohol, no one was surprised. Everybody knew that. It wasn't a secret. I mean, that I had a problem with alcohol wasn't a secret. Not too many people knew I'd done something about it. And for 6 years now, I haven't been in trouble with my employer. I do the job that I'm paid to do. I'm happy. My life seems full and rich. And God's much more vivid. I'm happy with my life today. And if you want what I have, you can pick up the telephone book in any city in the United States and find Alcoholics Anonymous. And there will be a friendly voice on the end of the phone that can direct you to a meeting. What I found out was the people at these meetings anywhere in the world really do care. And they know exactly how I have felt because they've been there too.
You've been listening to The Bottom Line. I'm Gary Thiemann. You know, doing these stories on a weekly basis has been a personal and emotional and spiritual experience for me. These people giving their stories to me and to you, I consider a great privilege. And it's our hope that this show reaches out and just helps someone. Thank you, Carole. And thank you. I'm Gary Thiemann. Hope to see you next time.
One step closer now, with one more fight. In paradise, they tell me that the sun shines all night. And maybe I'm crazy, believing that stuff. But if this is it, well, it's not enough. I'm too close to paradise and too close to hell. And sometimes the difference is too hard to tell. Now you can come with me, or I'll go alone. But I'm too close to ever go over again. I'm one step closer now. My heart's growing cold, but I fall back